Welcome again to Because Miami, and I was very disappointed at the end of the last episode that there were a handful of amazing stories that we did not get to. We will get to some of those today, hopefully. Lower on the list is Miami Mayor Francis Suarez begging Elon Musk to move Twitter headquarters to Miami. We'll get to that in a second because we've got some fresh and original investigative reporting that we have done, and we have unearthed some audio that I believe the audience is going to find fascinating. But among the top items from last week, Billy, that we did not get to, there is an election-denying Proud Boy endorsed by Trump that has been appointed to vice chair of the International Trade Consortium. Can you please explain to me how this happens?
Well, first and foremost, he got elected. We covered this a few weeks ago. This is the guy who in 2018 took part in a violent political protest against then Speaker Nancy Pelosi when she was down here in Miami in Coral Gables to be.
Look at Nancy Pelosi right here. Look at this piece of shit right here. Look at this piece of shit Pelosi right here. Fucking communists. You don't belong here, you fucking communists. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you and your fucking Democrats. Afuera. Open up. There's some Proud Boys in here.
Cowards! Socialism sucks! Comunista! Comunista! Socialism sucks! Socialism sucks! Socialism sucks! Socialism sucks!
Coral Gables, to be precise, with then Representative Donna Shalala, a congresswoman from South Florida. And it was put on by the Proud Boys. This guy participated in it. He later lied to the Miami Herald editorial board about it. Carlos Curbelo, also a former Miami representative who gave this kid, Kevin Cabrera, his start in politics, also lied about it. But the guy's on video doing it. You can see that video of him doing this. Never apologized for it, never took responsibility for it, got endorsed by Trump last year in his run for Miami-Dade County Commission. And we've covered this before. The Proud Boys have kind of hijacked the Miami-Dade County Republicans. This racist, white supremacist hate group runs the Republican Party in Miami-Dade County. And now that he's been elected, the mayor of Miami-Dade County, Daniela Levine Cava, who we've invited on this program a few times.
One of your great disappointments in endorsing, in wanting someone to actually execute change, she has been one of your great disappointments in the history of South Florida politics, correct?
This is the important thing, I think, about politics, is that it's not a cult. You don't endorse someone or vote for someone and then forgive and apologize and make excuses for whatever bullshit they do. It's our job in a democracy to choose the best candidate running in a race, and then hold that person accountable, whoever they are, whether you voted for them or not, whether you supported them or not. In this case, I gave her my full-throated endorsement. I told other people to vote for her, and I believe that she has set back. She is our first female mayor of Miami-Dade County, first really what we believe to be a kind of forward-thinking, progressive mayor of Miami-Dade County. And I believe that she has set back progressive politics in Miami-Dade County by decades by being just another sellout. I can't really tell the difference between her tenure and Carlos Jimenez, who was the corrupt mayor of Miami-Dade before her.
Did you just have it wrong and get snowed, or did she get into office and then engulfed by so much corruption that she can't actually do anything about it?
It's a great question. I think a little column A, a little column B. I think first and foremost, you don't change the system changes you. As soon as you get into that job, as soon as you get into that position, if you've ever been to a city hall or a government center, a county hall in this case, it's toxic. The people who are there are not your real constituents. They're not the people you're supposed to be serving on the streets of Miami every day. They are lobbyists, they are real estate developers, they are sports team owners, and they are there lining your pockets, and you are doing their bidding and not the bidding of the voters who put you into that office. And really what's happened here, I think, with Danielle Levine Cava is she surrounded herself with terrible people, and she's taking bad advice from bad people. And it's really interesting, too, because here is a person who could have been a great woman, and instead she is being dragged into mediocrity and corruption by mediocre and corrupt men that she is taking advice from. And one of the things she has done, this act, she was supported by Miami-Dade Democrats. She was supported by progressives in the party who still have not said shit about this, by the way. Those spineless worms, okay, in the Democratic Party in this town, all right? She appointed Daniela Levine Cava, the Democrat great progressive saver, first female mayor of Miami-Dade County, appointed this election-denying Proud Boys pal who instigates political violence and touted his Trump endorsement. She is the one who made him the vice chair of the Miami-Dade County International Trade Consortium that deals with foreign countries and really is what helps drive Miami-Dade County as an epicenter of worldwide trade, particularly for Latin America. So what? And she did it. She did it on December 22nd, dude. Like on purpose. Did like Christmas news dump. Just thought that nobody would notice. Minor thing. Nobody's paying attention. This dude, Kevin Cabrera, just posted the letter about his appointment from Danielle Levine Cava onto social media, and then nobody said a word because everybody was on vacay, baby.
Who's pronouncing it correctly? Put it on the poll, please, Roy, at LeBatard Show. Is it consortium or consortium? Because Billy and I are pronouncing that differently.
I thought I mispronounced Cabrera. I thought you were going to call me out on Cabrera. Is it Cabrera or
did,
Cabrera?
Yes, it's Cabrera. You have to roll the B. Do you know what the damage done here is in real world terms that the people can understand whether it's a consortium or a consortium?
I think the real world damage, first of all, that this dangerous guy is even in office at all. But that ship sailed. He got duly elected. But what doesn't have to happen is the mayor of the county doesn't have to reward him any further. She has no obligation to appoint this guy. The voters elected him, so be it. But this is an appointed position, this vice chairmanship. And it's not, it's not without its perks and its power. And so I think the greatest damage she's doing is to herself and to any potential future progress in this county. And so I think she's embarrassing herself. I think she's embarrassing her supporters. She's gone from stabbing us in the back to stabbing us directly between the eyes, right to our faces. I want you to know it's me. I want you to know that I am the garbage that you thought I was going to fight against. And I think that's the damage is the faith and trust and hope that people have in electing who they think are good people who turn out to be, in Miami, we don't recycle our garbage, we re-elect it.
Speaking of stabbing in the forehead or the back, Miami, not surprisingly, is a very violent place. However, I am surprised that we have arrived at Mexico City and some South American countries being safer now than Miami based on homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. You have covered the violence of Miami. I don't think it's as bad now as it was during the cocaine war days that you have documented in your documentaries when people were being just beheaded and dismembered in the streets, and Time Magazine was writing about Paradise Lost, but we're close.
Well, according to Latino Metrics and the Bloomberg Homicide Monitor, this is the stat that people go by. Like you said, it's homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. And so it's, obviously it's to say how dangerous is it or how murderous or homicidal is your city based on the size of said city. And in this case, you have Buenos Aires in Argentina, Sao Paulo in Brazil, Santiago, Chile, and Mexico City all have fewer homicides per 100,000 inhabitants versus Miami. And in fact, New York City, which all we hear about is, Miami's safe and free and New York is dangerous and terrible. Miami's homicide rate is almost double what New York cities is. And in the case of some of those other Latin American cities, it's only slightly higher. But again, this myth building about Miami as a safe place. Because remember, Miami is a city of essentially about 500,000 people. It's not a very big place. And apparently per 100,000 people, it's a pretty dangerous place when you measure homicides.
Many of you probably know that Billy is a bit of a loser.
God damn.
Billy often fights for the right causes and then loses, swamped and swallowed by corruption. Billy often does the right thing and ends up watching Proud Boys elected to vice chair of the International Trade Consortium. But you can celebrate. You can take a bit of a victory lap right now because yesterday, or last week on the show, rather, Martin Zilber, the judge who did all sorts of bad things during government time, his judicial seat in Miami's District 2 is now heading to special election because of the attention you brought to this.
The first thing I have to mention is that this week Jessica tweeted that the national championship moving up 30 minutes this year is proof that relentless complaining works. And I replied, the Because Miami podcast is proof that it doesn't. Is what I wrote back. But in this case, a rare W, or half a W anyway. You know, we talked about how
it's just a V.
It's
you got a V
for victory.
You didn't,
for victory.
I mean, okay, half a V.
That's sort of a backslash, right?
Yes, you got like a slash of victory. What is the victory?
So the victory was that, as we reported last week accurately, which was borne out in the meeting, that Commissioner Joe Carollo and Alex Diaz-La Portilla.
Wait a minute. You mentioned Joe Carollo.
Yeah, Miami Commissioner Joe Carollo.
Yes, when you mention that, we have to stop and do this. Anyway, you were saying.
They were in the bag for this Martin Zilber, this corrupt, resigned judge that Dixie talked about, his former judicial assistant, exposed last week. And they pushed hard to not only avoid a special election so that the people of District 2 could choose their own commissioner, but they wanted to just appoint this guy, make this their guy on the dais, the guy representing one of the largest, most diverse and wealthiest districts in the city. And it didn't work. There's only 4 commissioners right now because Ken Russell resigned to run for Congress last year and embarrass himself. And 2 of those commissioners, Commissioner Manny Reyes, who the only City of Miami commissioner to ever appear on this program, and the chairwoman, Christine King, stood their ground. They said, we believe that the people of District 2 should choose their representative, and it's not the business of this body to appoint someone or force someone upon them. And despite a lot of hardcore lobbying and cajoling from high-moneyed interests and real estate people and attorneys, powerful interests in this town, Manny Reyes and Christine King stood their ground. And it is because it was tied 2-2 that forced a special election so the people of D2 can decide their commissioner on February 27th. And Alex Diaz-La Portilla failed and Joe Carollo failed. And I should mention, just a couple days ago, a judge officially and formally ended the contract. The 19-year, $135 million Miami Heat FTX Arena naming rights deal officially ended about, 2 years into this 19-year deal. It is officially over. I imagine if they haven't already, they will be removing the letters F, T, and X from that arena. And I guess they're going to open the bidding again. Do we expect to see a BBC, Bang Brothers Center? Bang Brothers Center, right? BBC, they wanted to name it. So we have that to look forward to because Miami.
A frequent target of yours on this program is Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. We did not get to last week, and I wanted to get to last week, and we will get to it this week because you evidently have unearthed some audio that is pretty damning. But Francis Suarez has really begged Elon Musk to move Twitter headquarters to Miami. You've made fun before of Francis Suarez making this a tech hub. Now he is wanting Elon Musk in Miami because it's Elon Musk and there's money involved?
Because we're a tech hub, Dan. I don't know if you've noticed, but this guy has just absolutely glommed on to just like everybody. I mean, this just like whenever, he can tweet at somebody to raise his profile and he is just this absolute just desperate pinga rider. I mean, and Miss Francis has never been a thirstier bitch than he is in this pathetic Business Insider article. I don't know who Kimberly Leonard is, but this doesn't even rise to the level of hackery. There's a lot of journalists out there gleefully and skillfully engaging in hackery all the time, and this is just not one of those examples. This is bad. This is like a bad stenographer, because your job as a journalist isn't to just quote dumb shit and lies that politicians tell you. It's to not, and you don't have to speak truth to power, but you at least have to vet it. You at least have to push back and ask follow-up questions. I mean, you have to read this quote. So the headline is, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez tapped several people close to Elon Musk to urge him to relocate Twitter out of San Francisco. So first of all, this guy can't even get Elon on the phone. He's just like calling everybody that he knows around him, just like I said, thirsty bitch. And he tells Kimberly Leonard of Business Insider in this interview, he says, I think they belong here. I think that their rebranding fits our city, which is a city that puts a premium on liberty and freedom of expression. Unless, of course, I don't know, you watch a single Miami commission meeting, for crying out loud. I mean, unless you, it's classic, like, tell me you've never been to Miami without telling me you've never been to Miami. I mean, it's incredible just what a fundamental lack of understanding of what goes on here, how this government works. When you have the city being sued for tens of millions of dollars for violating people's constitutional rights because they don't like their politics and they want to deprive them of their private property rights. I mean, it's outrageous. And they publish this like it's for real. And it's pathetic, it's irresponsible, it's journalistic malpractice, and most importantly, it's so pathetic. This guy is a Ponzi schemer. He's an MLM pyramid scheme artist. Ponzi Postalita, which I saw made a cameo at
You were so self-involved.
At
King Mango Strut, yes, I know.
Parade.
But why are you? Yes, there was a float that had your nickname for the mayor on it, and is not interesting to anyone listening to this.
Now that's a rebrand.
But somebody was thinking of you when they did that, and you need the world to know.
I hope you're proud of yourself,
Will you
Billy.
continue with your point,
right
please, instead of referencing a float that was next to us in the King Mango Strut Parade?
So, Mayor Ponzi Postalita, Francis Suarez, desperate, thirsty, hitting up Elon Musk. We obtained, Dan, exclusively a recording.
You do journalism. You do research. You're somebody who talks to sources. You have broken stories on this show.
We got the recordings of Francis Suarez's voicemails to Elon Musk trying to convince him to move Twitter headquarters to Miami.
No, you didn't.
Roll the tape.
New message. Monday, 11:14 a.m.
Bro, Elon, it's Mayor Francis Suarez. Just letting you know I'm in San Francisco today and tomorrow for Tech BroCon. And I'm thinking, since you're not paying your rent here anymore, you should move Twitter headquarters to Miami, right? Imagine us as a team down here, bro. We represent second-generation mediocrity of disappointed dads. Plus, you got the boring company, and I'm super boring. But you can tunnel Miami and my anus anytime, bro. Call me back whenever. I'm getting my eyebrows done right now.
I don't think
to the
this
moon,
is
bro,
real.
okay?
This
Okay,
is
call me
not-
back.
this
Laser
is-
eyes, bro, okay? Tech up.
New message. Monday,
Check up.
11:16
That's him.
a.m.
Hey, it's me again, Francis Suarez. I'm with Kanye. Say hi to Elon, Kanye.
Yo, I'm here with President Suarez. Let's have lunch and make history.
Anyway, Elon,
I
we're
don't
going to
think
lunch
this
right
is
now to
real.
talk about Ye Coin. We're going to launch that with the Miami Heat at Ye Arena.
Ye Arena.
Guess who ain't controlling
Sounds
your
real to
money
me.
if you got Yecoin? Guess which people? Yes.
Irregardless, if you want, we can swing by and we can
Yes.
just pick you up at Twitter on the way.
I'm not supposed to say who.
Yeah, just give me a call and let me know.
The Jews.
That was not Kanye.
Monday.
Sounded like him. He had the mask on, so it's hard to hear him.
Hey, bro, it's me, Francis. Kanye and I are passing by Twitter right now, in fact. We're in a silver Tesla. If you look out the window, bro, this car is unbelievable. Like, the car driving around by itself is like the future, you know? It's like Night Riders. This thing just took off. I'm flying down the street. How do you stop this
Wait a
thing?
minute.
We're doing
This
90 down a side street, bro. There's people coming up. Holy...
That
New
was in
message.
Miami.
Monday, 11.
I hope he's okay.
19 a.m.
I just took out a bicycle. The guy's on the hood, bro. Bro, how do you stop this thing? Is there like a safe word, bro?
Safe word.
Yeah, bro, he went right through a hot dog stand, bro. Oh, something just exploded under the hood, bro. I gotta call you back.
Did
New
Kanye
message.
say Jesus take the
Monday,
wheel?
11:21 a.m.
Hey, bro, it's Francis. Everything's all good. That explosion you might have felt in the building a few blocks away, that was probably the battery exploding under the hood. I think that's what stopped it.
Oh, that helps.
So think about Twitter Miami, bro. The tech bros are lined up like a Belen elephant walk. I gotta stick around and fill out a couple things. They told me not to go anywhere. Keep hodling, bro. Let's dig some tunnels.
Feels a bit doctored. I don't
like a
think
Belen
I
elephant
don't,
walk.
I
That's
don't,
what he-
I don't think that you would have welcomed Kanye's voice onto this program in any way. We waste the time of a First Amendment defamation lawyer next. I want to say that Ari Cohen is with us because he's an accomplished First Amendment and defamation lawyer, but that is not why he is with us. He's with us because Billy Corbin just wants to take shots at John Ruiz, and he has had a substantive, Ari has, Twitter war with John Ruiz, although I think Billy has as well. Do you want to, before we even get to the questions for Ari, do you want to get into the highlights of his Twitter war with the local billionaire John Ruiz?
Billionaire. Like, that's in quotes. Hard air quotes. Air quotes so hard you're going to get carpal tunnel there, Dan. But so Ari, incredible thing happened. The story we covered last week on this very program, it was a Daily Beast post. So this other blog, Occupy Democrats, I think it's called, basically did a rewrite of that very same story, talking about the connections between the Ruiz family down here in Miami and George Santos, a.k.a. Congressman Cunanan, a.k.a. The talented Mr. Santos, this con man who conned his way into Congress in New York, lying about every single solitary thing about himself and his bio and his background and his family. And so it turns out that the Ruiz family members were involved in this guy's company and financing his campaign, and I should say involved in his alleged shell company that financed his campaign. So anyway, John Ruiz was really pissed about this. For whatever reason, he didn't go after the Daily Beast, but started going after the Occupy Democrats people, sent like a cease and desist letter about their defamatory post, and then went on to say that he was threatening to sue not only the people responsible for writing that blog post, but everybody who retweeted the link to that blog post. So what Ari did was he retweeted the blog post, basically, saying that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's a direct quote. Referred to it as a stupid defamation threat because he's threatening to sue people for retweeting it. And this thing turned into like a days-long tweef, which is short for Twitter beef.
Thank you. Unnecessary explanation.
And so,
Chris Cody over here.
So I think let's start. All right, let's start there. Because you offered to represent pro bono people that he was suing for retweeting. So let's start with the absurdity of this initial, and then we'll go into the evolution of this war, which gets even more ludicrous. But let's start there. The premise, like how this started. He's going to sue everybody for retweeting, right?
I mean, let's be clear. The original defamation thread about the article itself was also stupid.
Okay.
Stupid all the way down. But yeah, he said he was considering legal action against anyone who just retweeted it because they quote unquote adopted the lie. There's just one major problem for him there, and that is Section 230, which says that no provider or user of an interactive computer service will be treated as the publisher of any information provided by a third party. Well, courts have looked at this, at the retweeting issue, and have decided that users are indeed protected from being treated as the publisher, which is required for a defamation claim, of things that they just retweet. So there's just not only a statute, but case law interpreting the statute saying you can't do that. And, you know, it stuck in my craw really, because this is just another example of rich, quote unquote rich and quote unquote powerful people trying to scare people away from criticizing them or saying anything that they don't like. And it's a problem. And that's why we have states across the country passing anti-slap laws for exactly this reason.
And so, Ari, so you cite facts, you cite law, you know, U.S. code, case law, and this only seems to upset John Ruiz more. He says that you're a kid. By the way, he spells "you're" wrong. He has a real problem with these homophones. He says that you're not a litigator of national magnitude, that you can't obtain true experience in your mere 12 years of practicing law. You've never been named to any steering committees. You don't have one high-profile case under your belt. You've never had any multi-billion-dollar cases. You then call him pathetically insecure, tweeting, "How does it feel that a kid with a big mouth knows far more than you about defamation law and the First Amendment? Not a good look, you phony," and accuse him of teeny dick energy.
Yeah, I mean, Ruiz went what can really only be described as like full Donald Trump, but dumber. You know, he has this pathological need to be seen as correct and great and accomplished. And frankly, I'm really not all that sure whether, you know, some scammy SPAC deal that he bilked a lot of money out of really makes one successful in any reasonable measure.
Ooh, you're going to get a letter. You're going to get a letter, Ari.
Listen, one of the reasons I got into this is because I was so sure that this guy would never actually do anything because he is like Donald Trump in that he tries to talk a big game and puff out his chest, but in the end, he doesn't have the stones for it. So, and maybe that's because he knows he's going to lose, and maybe it's just because he just is dumb. I don't know.
And in an anti-slap case, he ultimately would be responsible for all the attorney's fees for the people that he's suing, right?
Yes, and notably, Florida, where he lives, has a notable strong anti-slap law, and the two people he sent cease and desist letters to live in states with very strong anti-slap laws. I mean, you couldn't have picked a dumber group of people to threaten than he did.
Then Ruiz threatens you because you tweeted mean things about him, and he claims that using foul language is a violation of ethical rules because attorneys are not allowed to curse.
Well, if attorneys are not allowed to curse, then we're all getting disbarred because we have mouths like sailors. And there's a kernel of truth in that when you're representing a client, if you start spouting profanities at opposing counsel during a deposition or in a voicemail or in an email during that case, that can actually be a violation of ethical rules. But there is absolutely no ethical rule that prevents me just speaking for myself, not in representing a client, telling this guy that he's a fucking idiot on twitter.com.
And in fact,
sorry, am I not allowed to curse?
No, you're fine. We like to do top 5 lists around here, and I believe Billy has assembled a top 5 best comeback retorts in this tweet between Ari and John Ruiz.
Well, Ari's response to this whole lawyers can't curse thing was fuck no, and he started to call out what he called Ruiz's clownish and thuggish legal threats, but he did so while incorporating creative cursing into your otherwise, I think, eloquent and sophisticated legal arguments, essentially centupling down on the lawyers can't curse thing. So these are Ari's top 5 profanities in the Twitter thread.
Number 5.
Dumb fuck gonna keep dumb fucking. I like turning it into a verb was like chef's kiss, just mwah.
Number 4.
You're a bully and you're an idiot. Nobody is scared of your fuck stickery.
Number 3.
Braindead Douche Canoes.
There is not a curse in there.
What one word though? Douche Canoes. One word.
Is that a canoe filled with douches?
I don't know,
What
Ari.
that is? Ari?
Conceivably, it could also be a canoe constructed out of douches.
Okay, very well. Which is it?
Would that float?
Roy, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Would a canoe constructed of douches float? And is a douche canoe a canoe filled with douches or a canoe constructed of douches? Number 2.
Taxidermied shit gibbon. By the way, later, unimpressed with Ruiz's bluster, Ari amends his insult to all shit no gibbon. By the way, which I thought was very good.
Well, can you please help me with just the construction of a taxidermied shit gibbon? What does that look like exactly? I got the taxidermy part, but what is a shit gibbon?
I'm sorry, I can't really help you out on that one.
Number 1.
Did you plead the 5th? Number 1, incompetent fuck muppet. One word, fuck muppet. And there was a runner-up, though, because it was a fabulous use of Yiddish, which is screwball mashugana lunatic.
That's outside looking in, others receiving votes.
I appreciate that you caught on to the fact that I increasingly escalated to make a point.
And observe, of course, that Ruiz is unable to, grasp basic concepts, and he's public, and he's obviously posting shit that he didn't read, and that doesn't apply to the facts of the given situation, and someone even gets him with a Bofades joke, for crying out loud.
Yeah, somebody cited him to in the matter of Bofades.
Oh, they got him with a D's nuts joke.
Yes.
He quote tweeted it and said, "Send the case to us. Ari's going to learn every step of the way." And the guy immediately replies, "Both of these nuts on your face."
He writes, he's like, "John, you should direct Mr. Cohn's attention to the decision in re the matter of Bofades in the Illinois Supreme Court."
All right.
And hang on, I gotta cap it with what happens, of course, Dan, is that Kane's whole Twitter starts jumping in to defend their NIL national champion.
Their sugar daddy.
Here.
University of Miami fans are defending their sugar daddy who has promised millions of dollars to the program.
Quoting stuff like, "It's really sad that Ari Cohn thought he could take down a Kane. Little does he know we won't go down without a fight. Now look at him begging for mercy." To which Ari replied, "I've never seen a school's fan base more enthusiastic about stepping on their own dicks."
I gotta put kind of another cap on it, in that while he was accusing me of committing an ethical violation for saying fuck on Twitter too much, I did a little deep dive into his own history, and it turns out he should know a thing or two about ethical violations, because John Ruiz was sanctioned by the Florida bar for conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice when he did not tell a court that he owned a company that he was representing that was being sued, sold the company's only asset so that the company couldn't satisfy any judgment, and then withdrew from the case. I mean, can you think of a scummier, skeezier, prototypical way people think about lawyers thing to do? I can't.
I bet we will right now top whatever it is you think can't be topped right there. Ari, thank you for being on with us, but I think that Billy's about to read some stuff that might top what it is that you're alleging there, but thank you for being on with us. We're going to get to that now. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you guys for having me.
We will do this with a segment that I like to call Billy Likes to Read. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is because you like to read, you like to be informed, you like to be factual in nature, and you like to not miss a lot of things. So you're reading from what right now as you decide to mock John Ruiz from another angle?
I'm not mocking. There's nothing defamatory. This was an article published by law.com just a few weeks ago when John Ruiz announced that he was going to be changing the name of his company. He's going to rebrand the company that just went public last year, MSP Recovery, as Life Wallet. Is because any going concern they like to change the name of the thing because that's a successful brand. But he did get a lot of attention for LifeWallet by signing all the millions of dollars in NIL deals, millions of dollars in NIL deals with Hurricanes athletes, and so that became this, I guess, predominant brand in their stable. And so the headline is talcum powder and triple doses inside the rebrand of Miami lawyer John Ruiz's $33 billion SPAC. Here's the thing, though. The rebrand marks the end of an eventful year for the one-time $33 billion SPAC led by Miami plaintiff's lawyer John Ruiz, which tanked to $1 per share following a May 22nd IPO, but still netted Ruiz over $2 billion, according to the company's accounting methods. In an interview, Ruiz said the rebrand, effective January 1st of this year, doesn't change the company's core business or strategy, despite the fact that it has generated 99% less revenue through quarter three than Ruiz predicted pre-IPO.
99% less.
Yes, pre-IPO, they were like, "Oh, this is going to. You have to invest in this company. It's going to make it. We're going to make all this money." This is what he predicted. Ruiz valued the company at $33 billion by multiplying not their existing revenue, but his 2024 projected gross revenue of $10.7 billion by a factor of 3. This is according to a 2021 investor pitch. But in the first 3 quarters of 2022, MSP Recovery only made about $4 million, tracking well below the $992 million gross revenue goal expressed to investors. Meanwhile, the company racked up a $135 million net operating loss, with co-founders Ruiz and CLO Frank Quesada investing over $100 million of their own funds into the public company and paying their own co-owned law firm over $20 million in legal fees. So if you keep up with all of that, it was not an accurate representation on the revenue projections to investors before they went public and he became, quote unquote, a billionaire. And they not only missed projections by 99%, but they lost a ton of money that required them to loan some of their money to their company, which used $20 million of that to pay the law firm that they also own. And Ruiz said, quote, "The fact that you don't have the precise revenue you thought you were going to have at the time you thought you were going to get it doesn't mean you're not going to collect that revenue."
Billy, thank you. We will talk to you again next week.
High comedy, because you'd have to be high to find it funny.